You're here 1 second. I'm updating your fortune. Hey, bravo, and welcome everybody to another episode of Paul Vato Presents. And today, my very special guest is Jason Seiler, who, judging by your Instagram.com/Seiler Pants, you make pants.
Oh yeah. I got mostly made in Wisconsin. Yeah,
Wonderful.
Wisconsin, China.
China.
No, it's Seiler Paints.
Seiler Paint. I think I
paint.
got the wrong guy. I need a pair of pants, and I thought you could hook me up with a pair of pants. Never mind.
Yeah.
Well, folks, I'm just kidding, of course.
I'm not the pants guy.
I'm not a pants guy either. Now in the time of Zoom calls and COVID and whatnot, no need to wear pants.
No.
My guest is Jason Seiler, who paints. He's an illustrator. He's an artist. He does caricatures. He's done the cover of Time magazine various times with people like the Pope. And who was your other cover that you did?
I've done Trump and Pelosi and a bunch of other political people. Biden and Kamala, Person of the Year cover. A few others. I think I've done about 10 covers for Time, something like that.
That is amazing. Congratulations. So I thought I'd spend a few minutes talking to Jason about his art, talking to him about his stand-up comedy, and we have a connection in the world of stand-up comedy as well as the Chicago connection. So folks, if you're here, please give Jason a very warm round of applause, and thank you, Jason, so much for being here.
Thank you. Oh, nothing better than claps and laughter.
That must be so different. The fact that you're getting claps and laughter on stage, sure, that's not almost sounded bad, but that when you're painting or drawing, it's such a solitude thing. That you go from one world to the other where you're very solitary and concentrating. Not that you don't in stand-up, but you're not getting that immediate reaction until afterwards. While stand-up, you're getting it right away. You're getting the applause. You're getting the laughs and all that.
The groans.
Well, a reaction is a reaction.
Yeah, I love it.
Have you gotten any groans for your artwork?
Oh yeah. I was just about to say, like, I do get reactions pretty quickly when I share work. It's kind of funny because I have done a lot of political type work, but I can't stand politicians. I like the left or the right. They're all lunatics as far as I'm concerned, and I have no problem illustrating for anybody because I don't have like a horse in the race really. That I'm like, I don't worship politicians. Let's put it that way. Every once in a while, I'll paint a certain politician. And I'm trying to take care of my family. It's my job. Like, I'm painting to somebody. And I will get just like the nastiest messages from people, just so angry that how dare you even work for that publication or draw that person or whatever it is. I've gotten pretty serious. One time I painted the president of Iran. This was years ago, and I got some serious, like, nasty messages from people, like trying to curse my family and like writing me crazy things. Like I actually even got a care package in the mail from Iran, and this was like 15 years ago, and it freaked me out so much because I don't. I was just after I got all these threats. So I gave it to I gave it to the police and to the FBI in Chicago. I just told my story, and they took it, and they came and got it. I don't even know what was in it. And then maybe, I don't know, like a month later, I got a call, and they told me it was mixed nuts. It was a bag of mixed nuts.
I I
And
was
that's
thinking that there was maybe going to be like, man, those are some delicious Persian cookies. Like,
yeah, yeah.
sorry, you didn't
But
want. But same thing, mixed
I
nuts.
yeah, but then I found out from someone from Iran that that's actually like a gift of love or whatever. Like that's a common thing to be, So it was probably a fan, but it still weirded me out. I was like, okay, I don't know.
Yeah,
People are saying
yeah,
death,
yeah.
death to you and your family. Here's some nuts.
Maybe they thought you
Enjoy.
had a peanut allergy, so maybe it
Yeah,
was.
yeah, yeah. He's American. Send him some gluten. It'll kill him.
Instead of some gluten and a
Yeah.
shoe. We couldn't throw it at you, but here it is. No, that's until somebody's paying your mortgage and your rent or your bills, they
Yeah.
can't exactly tell you how to do it. But that's the thing, you're not a hypocrite. You're only going like, oh, I'm only drawing Republicans or I'm only drawing
Yeah.
Democrats. You're going across the board and all,
Yeah.
showcasing your beautiful talents and artwork. So you can't let that, of course, stop you, and it hasn't. So that's wonderful.
Yeah. It is a little bit tricky because there's some artists that I know that only will work for the left, and then they criticize me if I do anything for a right wing publication. But the thing is I don't illustrate something if I don't if it's like if it's over the line in any way, that I don't otherwise mostly it's just like whatever. There's a story about this person, and I'm just doing a painting of them. Like, chill out. It's not. It's like it's even oh gosh, what was the thing? There was something recently. Can't remember which one it was, but I did something, and maybe it might have been my Biden cover. Someone was really upset about my Biden cover, and like, how could you, you know, draw him, or maybe it was a Trump. Anyways, whatever it was, I tried to explain to them that, like, I'm recording history. Okay, this is something that is happening right now, and whether you like it or not, that person exists, and I'm recording history with my paint. That's basically, and I'm also taking care of my family and doing what I love. So chill out. So,
That's yeah, agreed, and that is 100%. You're not doing the political commentary. You're just doing
no,
a painting for whatever article that is, be it right, left. Uh,
yeah,
so no, I don't think that you should ever, of course, need to explain yourself. I know that we're just dialoguing, but that is no, you can't you can't listen to what other people say. And then I'm friends with a pretty well known cartoonist, and he's very left wing, Lalo Alcaraz, who just won the oh god, I won't say the Heimlich Award. Hoblich, I forget. There's some big award and I think illustration, and I should probably know that if I'm going to speak on it. But
oh, was it from
Nick,
Society of Illustrators?
no, it's the Nick something Nick, and then his
Uh-huh.
last name. I'll figure it out. I'll probably edit this out. Um,
Okay.
and or if Chris Rossetti, my producer, he'll probably look it up. His name's Lalo Alcaraz. He's an award-winning cartoonist, and I co-hosted the show Pocha Hour of Power with him on KPFK in LA, and
Mm.
that's very left-wing radio. And he, um, you know, he'll go at both sides, but he'll really, of course, goes after the right, and especially Trump
Mhm.
and whatnot. But
Mhm.
I think he would appreciate your work because we also know people on both sides of the aisle, and yeah,
Yeah.
that's just incredible. You're taking shit from all sides.
Yeah. And like even in comedy too, like I don't really get into politics too much in comedy because it just divides the room right away. But I like to make fun of myself or kind of make fun of both sides at the same time. You know what I mean? Like making fun of Trump and Biden together. You know what I mean? Like that's
Right.
more fun to me. Like if it's a fun joke, but yeah, it's different with the illustration because it's mostly it's just a client will call me and tell me like someone they want me to paint. They'll tell me the story. If it's a caricature type editorial illustration where they're like wanting me to draw a situation, if it was something that I didn't agree with, I just wouldn't do it. And I've done that before. I'm like, I don't really want to do that, and that's fine. They'll find someone else. But mostly, it's just uh, I've noticed that in the last 3 years or so, with the heightened wokeness thing that's been going on, where people are seeming being a little bit more sensitive about things, that caricature, which is what I've been doing since I was like 9, 10 years old, has not been used as much in editorial work. And I've actually been called out a few times now for doing caricature that I'm a bully, that it's mean, and that there's like how could you do that to people, and it's just like it's ridiculous, and it's funny because it really, the caricature illustration and comedy, it's always been like very similar to me, and the difference is like when people like when I do comedy, people go to the show to see comedy, so I actually feel like I have way more freedom to express myself, and it's like, hey, shut the fuck up, you decided to come to a comedy show, so get over it. But like with the art, you know it's like you're kind of just putting it out there, and then anybody feels like they can say and they what they want, and now everyone has access to tell you what they think. you know so it's
Of course, yeah. Everyone's
yeah.
got a platform. Now, you're saying that you're being called a bully, or you might be, because you're exaggerating features of people's faces. Because I think that's what caricature is. Correct? I mean,
Oh yeah. um yeah, I mean, people, there's people don't there's been people that take it in that way, that like it's I've been called a bully. That's what I'm basically, which is kind of crazy because it's like they look at what I'm doing as super mean, or that's like insensitive, or racist, or whatever, just as like because of how I draw somebody, and it's like, no, it's what they look like. Like it looks more like them than a photo sometimes. A good caricature, it really can capture someone's essence. But I've definitely noticed, in the last few years, this shift in this, like people are like walking on eggshells about everything.
sure, of
So
course.
yeah.
Yeah, we especially notice it in comedy or satire and whatnot. But I hear you. So keep fighting the good fight. Now, you mentioned you take commissions. Now, if I wanted you to draw either myself or something for a book, that's a project that you would possibly take on, you would consider.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm a freelance artist, so if you have monies, I provide the honeys.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was going to offer, I'd love for you to draw me. It'll bring you great exposure. I feel like a lot of people make that offer, like, oh, please, do work for me, and you'll get a good exposure. So sorry, but I can't tell that to my mortgage company or my landlord. Um, do you charge different rates, say for individuals versus like corporations, like to draw the cover of Time magazine? Do you have a set rate? Is it the same as other artists? And if this is
Hmm.
proprietary knowledge, then by all means you don't have to share it. But I think people would be very interested to know, what can an artist make. Obviously you've dedicated, what, 20 plus years to your craft.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's different how it works because basically from magazine to magazine, the way it works usually is they have like a set amount for cover or spot illustrations, inside the illustrations, and they offer you the job. You either take it or you don't. Um, so that's usually how that works. And a magazine cover can be anywhere from, you know, 1,800 to 2,800 to 3,500. It depends on who it is and what. Um, and and then it varies for different other projects. Like I recently did background paintings for an upcoming Disney movie, and that was different. That was more of I got paid every 2 weeks, and so they had a set amount where I was paid, and so it's never the same. Like sometimes I do. Sometimes for clients or for private commissions, I'll do a day rate, which is usually I'll charge like 1,000 to 1,200 for a day rate. And so it just depends on what the project is, and also especially if it's a private commission, I usually I ask for like half up front for something like that, and then it's because I'm also taking on editorial work while I'm doing that. So it really just depends. It's not there's not like a set thing, and yeah, I mean, and it's different also for because when I do my editorial work, I work digitally, but when I do private commissions, I also work digitally for that as well, but sometimes I'll do oil paintings or gouache or things like that, and those will cost a lot more because they're traditional and they're huge and they take a long time. Excuse me. So that's again, it's all over the place. So it depends on what it is. Like if it's an album cover, which I've done a few album covers before, that can be a lot more than like a book cover so. But in the industry itself, there's not like a set thing.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing because I think that we get a lot of listeners that are getting into the arts or enjoy the arts or artists themselves. And I think that's one of the important things is, monetization and can I make a living at this? So thank you for being free with your information and
Yeah.
sharing. So much appreciated. And then how did you get into stand-up comedy?
Um, that's it's kind of crazy, but we kind of have a connection. You mentioned Steve Byrne before, but basically, so I've always wanted to do comedy. Ever since I was a little kid, I know he's not so popular right now, but Bill Cosby was my favorite comedian. When I was a kid, I would watch it over and over and over again. And as I got older, I just, every comedian show I could see, I would watch. Saturday Night Live, anything comedy. And then, of course, I was really into Mad Magazine and that kind of stuff. So it's always been a huge part of my life. And I've always sort of, I wasn't really like a class clown. I was definitely a weird, quirky artist guy that loved to make people laugh, and I would be silly with my friends, and I always wanted to get people to laugh. Like I would, whether I was like walking, like I used to sometimes for fun, I would walk around my high school like Charlie Chaplin, and I would just do the Chaplin walk for hours. Like I was just weird. I don't know. Like I've always just loved comedy. And then as I got older, I moved to Chicago when I was 18, and I was in a bunch of punk bands and metal, like hardcore bands, really. And so I spent years touring and putting out albums with bands, and then eventually I quit and focused like on my art full time. And the comedy thing was just always there. But basically, what ended up happening was like years of doing my art, I decided to do a podcast because I had been listening to a bunch of podcasts, and actually I didn't really listen to the comedian podcast until someone pointed out to me that Mark Maron was talking about mentioned my name or something on his podcast, And so I checked that out, and I realized, oh, he's got like this awesome podcast. I knew his comedy, but I didn't realize the podcast that he had. And so I listened to that, and then I heard that Joe Rogan mentioned me, um, and I didn't know about his podcast. So this is like 6 years ago or 7 years ago, and so I just started listening to their podcast all the time, and I decided one day just to start my own because I'm like, man, I like to talk, and I know a lot of artists and musicians and different things. Like, it would be kind of fun to do this. So I started doing the podcast, and eventually I had Steve Byrne on because he had put out a documentary about the amazing Jonathan, and I thought it was really good. I was a fan of Steve Byrne's comedy, and so I shared on my Instagram. I think I shared uh, the artwork for that documentary, and I said, "Hey, everyone should watch this. It's really amazing." He wrote me and said, "Thank you so much. He really appreciates it." And then he sent me another message a little bit later that said, "Holy shit! I just went a deep dive on your artwork." He's like, "Your work's amazing," and he's like, "Wow!" So he's going on about that, and I just thought, "Oh, this is a cool opportunity." So I asked him right away. I'm like, "Hey, would you want to do my podcast?" And he said, "Yeah, that would be awesome." So basically, ended up having Steve Byrne on the podcast, and then we were talking and talking and talking. We got way into the comedy stuff, and at one point, he basically said, "Hey, man, you're a comedian. You got to do it. You got to try. You got to get out there and do it." And I was like, "I don't even know what to do. Like, I don't know where to go." And he's like, "You're in Chicago, like there's comedy everywhere." But I still didn't know what to do, and like I have a wife and kids and illustration, and it's like I don't know. So he said, "I tell you what, I'm going to be performing in Chicago in 6 months at the Chicago Improv, and I want you to do 5 minutes on my show." So it was terrifying, but I was like, I'm not going to say no, So I was like, okay, yeah, I'll do it. So I took it as a challenge. Spent the next 6 months just working and writing and rewriting and throwing away and writing, uh, just to try to come up with 5 minutes. And I was like determined, like this is going to be good. Like I am not going to go up there at the Chicago Improv and bomb. That's not going to happen. So, but I was terrified, and I didn't go to any mics because I just didn't feel the material was ready. It was not ready, and I'm like trying. So about a week before I was gonna do my first set ever, I went to 2 mics in the city, and like I only got like 3 minutes, so I didn't really even get to do my whole set. But it went okay, and I felt like okay, I think I got this because I'm used to talking in front of people, being on stage. So I'm comfortable that way because I've done a lot of public speaking for my art, like workshops, different things like that. So I'm not afraid to get up in front of people with a microphone. So for me, it was all about getting the material down and making sure, So I worked really hard. I looked at it like an essay. Like I had an intro, I had the middle section, and then I had an outro. So it was like a nice tight 5 minutes. And I got to the Chicago Improv, and it was so scary. It's like a real club opening for a real comic. And well, I went out there and I did really, really well. Better than I think what he thought I was going to do. And he came out or behind stage when I got off stage, and he was like, "That was not bad." And then he basically said, "Hey, maybe next time, don't open with a masturbation joke." And then he invited me to come back the next 2 nights, and so I did. And I just after that I just kept hitting mics. And then last summer he came to Chicago again and asked me to do 3 more nights with him. So I did that. And then this November, I'm getting, well, I guess I would say a promotion of sorts because he asked me to host at the Chicago Improv. So it's baby steps. So he's a really cool guy. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be doing it.
Wow, buddy, congratulations. He was also very instrumental in my non-existent stand-up comedy career. But about 3 years ago, New Year's Eve, he was opening in Vegas at Backstage Bar and Billiards there on Fremont Street. And he offered me 5 minutes. So I did it, and I apologize for possibly tanking his show, but he was he was complimentary. Gary Cannon, not so complimentary, but I guess that's the way he is with everybody. And so you're lucky Gary wasn't there. I'm guessing.
No.
But it says it all that he's invited you back. He's quote unquote promoted you, which I think is great because hosting you just get to practice so much more because you're up there so much more. I
Yeah.
think hosting is amazing. But yeah, nothing but love for Steve Byrne, who I think is a gentleman and just an inspiration and is wonderful for the world of comedy to do this to people that maybe wouldn't have done it without his inspiration. So yeah, thank
Oh
you,
yeah.
Steve, if you're listening, and I would love to have him on my podcast as well. So maybe soon.
Yeah.
So I just was DMing with him yesterday or texting with him. I think yesterday or day before. So hopefully we can work on a project together. But yeah, he's hilarious. For those of you who don't know Steve Byrne, he's half Korean, half Irish. He had a great show called Sullivan and Sons. He usually works with Vince Vaughn and
Yeah.
Peter Billingsley, who was the "You'll Shoot Your Eye Out" kid in Christmas Story.
Oh yeah.
So just so
Yeah.
talented, very funny,
Mm.
and you did the Chicago Improv. You started at the top,
Yeah.
So I don't know where you go from here.
Well, yeah, it was weird because then I started hitting mics, like, which in Chicago, there's a few clubs that do mics that I go to every week, which is great because you get to work your way up, and so like one of the clubs I go to, for example, um, they basically made me, I don't know if you would call it like a regular there now. Like I after a year of hitting that mic, it's called CG's in Bolingbrook. It's a really fun comedy club, but basically after going there for about a year, the owner gave me a hosting opportunity, and so after the second night, you do 2 nights. After the second night, you get to add your name to the wall, and then he had me host again. So I've gotten to like start hosting now for bigger comics there. But there's different clubs like that, but mostly you go from Chicago Improv to you know dive bars and wherever, just hitting mics, hitting the mics. But now it's I'm doing a lot more shows. I started producing my own show as well. So that's been really cool because doing this, I get to meet a lot of comics in Chicago, and so when I produce my own shows, I put the best comics on, and it's always a great show. Like every show I've done so far has sold out, and everyone gets paid. Like I can't tell you how many times I've been, hey, you want to do the show? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh, it's a paid gig. I'm like, cool. And I get there and they give me a drink ticket. It's like, that's not payment.
Yeah.
No. So like my comics get paid, and it's always fun. We have like the show we did last Friday, sold out show. And it was more of a showcase. Every comic did 15 minutes, and every comic murdered. It was really fun. It was a really fun night. It was awesome.
Wonderful. Well, so if that's the case, I do have a paid gig for you to paint me. It is a paid gig. Uh, I
Awesome.
have cigars and a drink, so thank you. I would appreciate. I'll send over the contracts. Um, Wonderful, wonderful. What hurts more? What stings more from a troll? Getting somebody coming after you in comedy or in caricature or your art? Which of your art forms would you say hurts more when somebody says something negative about you?
Mm.
Or is it the same or water off
Yeah.
a duck's
I
back?
mean, I haven't really. I mean, I have upset a few people with the comedy, but ultimately I don't care. Like they're jokes. Like get over it. Like I don't write jokes to hurt people. I write jokes to make people laugh. And if you can't tell that I'm joking, that's your problem.
Mhm.
like it's clearly a joke. Like um, I do a lot of like misdirection. I do a lot of making you think something terrible, but then maybe last minute I turn somewhere else, and it's a little unexpected. Like so, but I think a lot of it is innocent and funny. I do a lot of impressions. I do a lot of exaggerations with my features, and I act things out. But I'm not like, you know, I'm not saying terrible, horrible things. So every once in a while, somebody gets offended. For me, I'm just like, if you got offended at that, like, I'm sorry. Uh, it's just funny too because you go to a lot of mics and you'll hear comics at mics say certain things. You're like, whoa, like, so I didn't even go close to that, So, but like with the art stuff, I feel like I don't really care either. I mean, when I was a little bit shocked when I did my Biden cover, Biden and Kamala for Person of the Year cover, because I was very proud of it, and uh, I'm really happy with how it turned out. And it was a huge honor just to paint for Time, anyways. But to get my second Person of the Year cover was it's a historical moment for me. It was a really big deal. Not many artists have done Person of the Year twice, so that's like a really an amazing thing. And I remember feeling all emotional because like Time Magazine even wrote me this nice letter, like, congratulations, you got your second Person of the Year cover. Because when they hire you to do it, you don't know if it's going to be used because they hire several different artists to paint several different people. So just because they hire me to paint Biden and Kamala, that doesn't mean that's going to be the Person of the Year cover. So when they called me to let me know, I was just like, wow, I cannot believe it. And then it's on the news everywhere, and I was so excited and I was so happy and I was so proud. And then all of a sudden, all the hate mail, even from family members, I got some stuff like, and I'm like, I just painted the Person of the Year cover for Time Magazine, and you are shitting all over me. Like, so that stung a little bit, especially people in family that said things. Uh, so that was a bummer. But I mean, at the same time, people are free to have their opinions. I just think that when it comes to politics and stuff, people are. It's like religion. Like, they're so convinced in what they believe that if you mess with that in any way, they don't want to hear it, and they're going to let you know. And that's why they say don't talk about politics or religion when you're getting a haircut or whatever. Um, but I don't know. I'm kind of there. Basically, I've been doing this long enough that when I do something, there's always going to be some kind of comment. You know,
Yep. Yep.
um, and sometimes I just ignore. Sometimes I'll like respond in a funny, sarcastic way to somebody, or sometimes I'll just delete them. If it's a
Good.
negative, if it's too negative, if someone's being like hateful, I just delete it. You know,
Smart.
I
Smart.
just don't. I just
Well,
don't even bother.
that's the risk that we take as content creators.
Yeah,
And you don't necessarily want everyone to like you. I think Sam Kinison might have said that, and I'm sure others have said it as well, that you don't need the world to like you, the whole world to like you. You just need a small percentage to fucking love you.
yeah,
And then other people have said all you need is 1,000 true fans that'll support you, buy your tickets to your shows, buy
hmm
your artwork, promote you, and that's all you need as a content creator, really, to make a living. So anytime that you put yourself out there, you're going to get your detractors. And
oh yeah,
I had a video go viral 15 years ago. It was I photocopied my butt. I fall into a copier, and that people didn't know that was a joke. It's so the horrible things that were said. After that, I was like, there's nothing you can say that'll offend me because I've already heard it all. So
yeah.
it's what we sacrifice when we put our art out there. But you're doing, man. If you're not familiar with yourself, I'm speaking with Jason Seiler. I'm gonna take that again, folks. If you're not familiar with whom I'm speaking with Jason Seiler. So welcome to Paul Vato Presents. You can find Jason Seiler at jasonseiler.com. That's Jason Seiler.com, and then also on Instagram at Instagram.com Seiler Paints. not pants. Paints. You
Paints.
said people have, for years have thought it was pants until
Yeah.
they realized it was like, why, folks?
I had a
Why?
close friend of mine who, I mean, I've known him for like 7 or 8 years. And one day he comes up to me and he's like, "Oh my gosh, I just realized that your Instagram is Seiler Paints. The whole time I thought it was Seiler Pants." I'm like,
Why?
"Dude, what? That's so weird, man."
Why would it be Seiler pants?
I have no idea. It's just weird. And the only reason it's Seiler Paints is because for one, I just wanted to make it clear what I do, but like I wanted it to just be my name, but it was taken, and so I tried all these different things, and I was like, well, Seiler Paints, it works. And I mean, this was like, gosh, whenever Instagram first came out, I don't even know how old it is now, a long time ago. So, but yeah, it's just funny to find out that it wasn't just one friend. There's a lot of people that have said that to me. Like, why would I call it Seiler Pants? Use your brain.
Use your brain. It's so
Yeah.
fun mentioning your name. I actually co-host another podcast called Film Talk with AJ Dean, and we're actually interviewing someone. I believe tonight. I think he's our next interview. Whose name is John Seiler, spelled the same way, but he's maybe into animals, pets, or dogs, or something. I got to find out what that is. But
I'm into animals too. Yeah.
Coincidence. It was just a total coincidence. Yours will be out way after his because his I think we're doing tonight, and AJ will get it out within a couple days. But yeah, it was just so weird that the coincidence of the
That
name
is weird.
Seiler. So, yeah,
Especially since I don't really meet very many Seilers. Yeah, it's more popular in Germany and Austria. And it's actually, it's funny. I've been to Austria a couple times, and the first time I was there, I was introduced on stage, and it was the best thing in the world because they're like, the way that they said my name was the coolest thing ever. They were like, "Everyone, welcome, Jason Seiler," and it was so awesome. But Seiler,
Zyla.
yeah, they say it with a Z, Seiler. So, oh yeah, I was like, man, I want everyone to like that should be how I get brought on stage, Jason Seiler.
I think you need to demand that. I mean, well, you're the host.
Seiler.
Always in a German or Austrian accent.
Well, all my life when I was a kid, like everyone said it wrong. They called me Seiler, Silo, Sailor. They never. Even my English teachers never said my name right, which always drove me nuts because it's you don't say Frankenstein. You don't say Heinz 57. it's the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's there's all that. And speaking of, like, there's a lot of times like when I get brought on stage where they say Seiler, and it's just like, oh. So I appreciate when people ask me first, like, how do you say it?
I figured it was Seiler, but you never know. So I thought I'd ask. So Jasoon Seiler, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, Jason. Yeah, I feel bad for my daughter Sienna because she's only 4 now, but she's starting to try to learn how to spell and write her name. But her first name is Siena, last name Sei. So I think it's going to be a little bit of a problem, but
I think so. Yeah. I think so. Hey, make it challenging for them. They have it too easy as it is. Kids these days.
We did that on purpose, just for you.
A couple questions that just as I'm looking over your work and things that have popped up, and this has nothing to do with your work. Do you still smoke a pipe? I could have sworn I saw you smoking a pipe in a video once.
I haven't in a while because in about 5 years. I want to. I would like to. I just stopped when I had my daughter Sienna because my wife was getting aggravated. She's like, "You come in and you smell like smoke, and the baby smells like smoke," and so I kind of just was like, I'll take a break, and then I just haven't really done it. So, but I'll probably do it again someday. I really enjoy every once in a while. I'll have a cigar or something like that. I just it's like relaxing. but I always enjoy the pipe. It's nice to chill, sit on the porch and just chill. Um, but yeah, I haven't done it in a while, so
It really almost elevates your essence as an artist when you're smoking a pipe. And
yeah.
I'm a cigar maker. I make cigars. I have a cigar
Oh wow.
company, so I'll have to send you cigars. I know
Oh
comedians
yeah, that's awesome.
cigars are really coming together. Thanks to Joe Rogan and all those guys, smoking
Mm.
cigars on podcasts. So I'm going to try to crack that market with my Vato cigars, which I've had for 12 years now.
Oh,
So
that's awesome. Yeah.
I'll have to send you some. If you ever want to do a cigar band or do a face on one, we could do that as well. And
Oh
just
yeah, that'd be
make
awesome.
yeah, you could have your own cigar to give out if you'd like. Um, and the other thing is, and she's a stand-up comedian. Maybe somebody you should know. You and I think in one of your videos, you draw either, or maybe you mentioned it earlier. You draw either on your iPad or on what's it called, tactile surfaces. I mean, like paper or uh,
Hmm.
do you draw on paper or sketchbooks, or is this more like canvas?
Well, I mean, I used to draw on sketchbooks all the time. Right now, I mostly will sketch on my iPad, or I have a behind my phone here. I have a 27-inch screen that I draw and paint on. So it doesn't make sense, or I should say, it makes more sense for me just to do everything on the screen because I have to sketch and then email to the client, get approval, and then once I get approval, I just start painting. Um, so I do mostly that, but every once in a while, someone wants to commission me to do like an oil or something like that. Then I do it traditionally. Um, but mostly I do it's digital nowadays, which saves on time, paper, everything. So, but it's to me it's all the same. Like it's just like I don't even notice the difference really. Because I even when it comes to digital painting, some people get confused and they think, "Oh, he's just pushing buttons or something." It's like, no, it's all drawn, it's all painted. I mix my colors, everything, um, and I try really to work in a traditional like way, so that it feels very similar to my traditional paintings, as far as like brushwork and that sort of a thing. So.
What program do you use? Because so there's pressure and things like that that'll make lines darker or
Mhm.
finer. And forgive my ignorance, I don't know much
No,
about
it's
that
fine.
world.
Um, Yeah, I mean, I work in Photoshop mostly. That's what I've been working on digitally since I started working digitally. Um, and yeah, you can set your opacity and your flow. Certain brushes are more sensitive than others. I've created a bunch of brushes. I've bought brushes that have certain textures and stuff just to help make it a little more interesting. But really, I keep it pretty simple. Like I don't. Um, I kind of work with like a limited palette a lot of the times, kind of how I would work if I was working with acrylic or oil. Um, I try not to use as many layers. And sometimes I'll have to use layers depending on the job. Like certain jobs, they require you to work on layers. But um, I try to not to lose, you know, basically I try to keep it is close to how I would actually draw or how I would actually paint because I think it's important to have my thumbprint. Like so there's a lot of digital art that just looks the same out there, and I think trying to keep it as simple and close to my normal work is how I can keep it looking like my work as much as possible. Because it's really easy to abuse the computer, you know.
Sure.
Um, but and also the other thing is I am not like a tech person, so I I it's funny. I've watched different artist friends of mine do demos on Photoshop, and they're doing things I didn't even know Photoshop could do. Yeah,
Uh, w- 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 1 second. Take that again, please, from because you got cut off just a little bit.
oh,
Uh,
okay.
right when you said you've been watching your friends, or
Oh,
yeah,
yeah. I yeah. I'm just saying that like I've watched certain friends of mine do demos or different things on Photoshop, and I don't even know how. I never even knew that you could do certain things like that. Like there's certain things that they're doing. I'm like, I didn't even know Photoshop could do that because I basically just use the paintbrush tool and the erase tool, and that's pretty much it. Like I don't use all these crazy tricks and stuff. Um, I'm just drawing and I'm painting. So yeah, I mean, I don't. To be honest, I don't really want to do all those other things because I just want to paint. Um, and like for the funny thing is, before I did the Pope, I was using this version of Photoshop that someone gave me years and years ago, and I was using this old. It was an old Photoshop, like 8 years I think behind the current version, something like that. Anyways, Adobe came to my house to interview me and to film me, and they're like, "What Photoshop are you using?" They're like, "You painted the Pope cover with that Photoshop?" I was like, "Yeah, all I need is the paintbrush tool." And they're like, "Oh my gosh!" And so they gave me a year free subscription to the Photoshop. And then after that, I kept the newest version because I realized, oh, it's actually way nicer than what I was using. So it's just funny though, because really all you need is the paintbrush tool, really, you know. But the way I look at it is, for every artist, it's to each their own. Like some people prefer the iPad, which I enjoy sketching on the iPad, but I don't really do anything final on it. More just sketches. And then there's a bunch of different like programs like Painter and different things, but I just kind of stick with what I know, and um, yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I don't really, there's so many different things that people are. Oh, you should try this program. You should try that. I'm like, nah, I don't need
Well,
to.
it just goes to show you, man. It's not the tool. It's the artist.
Yeah,
Same with photographers. Like, oh, I can't be a good photographer. I don't have a good camera. Bullocks. You've got your iPhone. It takes better photos than most cameras out there. I'm guessing. So it just goes to show you, artists, keep up the doodling. That's from The Office, the BBC Office.
oh,
And keep up the doodling. But that's such a, being raised Catholic, that was such a beautiful piece that you did of the Pope. I'm
thank you.
sure it's hanging the world over. If somebody wanted to buy a copy of that, does Time sell it, or are you able to sell prints of that?
Yeah,
Or once they own it, they own it?
no, like certain publications. Um, well, actually, the only publication that I know of that owns the work is Mad Magazine, DC Comics. So everything I've done for them, they own it, and they can do whatever they want. But Time only owns the right to use it that one time. So, so I can make prints of the work. I sell prints. I sell prints basically of everything, except for Mad. I can't sell. So, but yeah, basically any artwork that I have on my website, I sell prints of everything basically. So
Wonderful. I'll have to. Uh, well, I'll have to send you a copy of my Kama Sutra, which is the filthy bed. It's my updated Kama Sutra, or the Vato Sutra, and see if you're interested in maybe doing a sketch or a drawing, either for the cover or for one of the entries. But it is. I'd rather you read it first, because you may not want to be associated with the Donkey Punch or the Angry Dragon or the Dirty Sanchez. So I'd rather you.
yeah, so we'll send it. Yeah, send it to me. Yeah,
Yeah, I want
I'll
to make sure
check it
you
out.
know what you're getting into before you
Okay.
agree to. I don't know. Do you submit, or do you got to go like, my work? Do you want to hire me or not? Or do you actually, would you submit something, or how does that work?
What do you mean, like for
Like
like?
if I wanted to, let's say I want you to do the cover of Kama Sutra, uh, would how would I go about hiring you? But I don't know if I want you or if I want a few other artists. But I also don't want to make you go through all this work. I'm a business owner too, so it's like I don't want to make this guy go through all this work and then he doesn't get the job. Like, do you mock something up really simple,
Oh,
or
I see what you're
is it
saying.
never
Well,
simple?
no, I mean that normally, like, like magazines or publications or people contact me. They tell me what they want, and and so like if I don't like try out for things, um, basically, it's different for, like, for example, what I said before about time with person of the year. Person of the year cover is very different and specific, um, because they don't know who the person of the year is going to be. So they hire several different people. Sometimes they hire several artists to paint the same person because they're pretty sure it might be that person, but they want maybe a few different options. But for non-person of the year covers, they'll hire me to do a cover, and I just do the cover.
Got it.
And that's how most publications are. They contact me or my agent, and they say, "Hey, we want this person doing this, whatever." And then it usually always starts with a sketch. Get the sketch approved, and then once the sketch is approved, then I just take it to final. And sometimes there might be some slight adjustments or different things like that. But most of the time, when you send, because I also like will send work in progress while I'm working on it, so they'll kind of see it coming together. Um, and sometimes that's great, and sometimes that's terrible. Sometimes people think that you're doing that, and they're like, "Oh, can you change this and this?" It's like, no, like because they want to keep changing things, and it's like, but other people like it because they get to see the progress, and it makes them, you know, like it's. I think it brings some art directors comfort because they're like, "Is he really going to get it done on time?" And it's like it's some art directors are like, "Can you send me an update?" It's like, dude, I have 2 days to do this. It'll be done. Okay, I'm working on it. Like some deadlines are nuts like that, where you have 1 to 2 days to do something. But the clients that have like maybe a week or two, a lot of times they will ask you like, "Hey, how's it going? Can you send me an update?" And
Yeah.
sometimes you don't want to because you're like, "Oh, they." And it's real. The funny thing is, they will like, I'll send like an update. I'll even let them know like, Um, okay, just so you know, I haven't really done much with the background yet, and I still have to do this. I still have to do that. Right now, I'm focusing on finishing the face, and once I get that done, everything else will come together. And they always will say, um, the face is looking good, but the background looks like it needs some work and all this. I'm like, do you know how to read? Like this happens all the time. It's like,
Amazing. Amazing. Of course. Of course.
yeah. So I just have to roll my eyes and be like, yeah, I'm going to be doing the background, and eventually. So
Everyone's a
yeah,
credit.
yeah, it's funny. When I was younger, first getting started in this, I would get way more frustrated about things, but now it's like, I just try to make the client happy and do the best I can for them. And some people just don't get it. Some people don't understand how things work, and that's fine. You know, um, I just say bad things about them when I get off the phone. No, just kidding.
You've been warned,
No,
folks.
yeah,
So if
no,
anyone
but
wants to hire
yeah.
you, please visit jasonseiler.com and reach out. He does beautiful work. If you're not familiar with him yet, please make yourself familiar because I'm sure that we'll be hearing a lot more from Jason. People are already talking about him on other podcasts and I'm sure in the news. But what an honor to have drawn Time Person of the Year twice, and various other covers. I saw that you did something here in Vegas for the Vegas Weekly for Croptober back in like 2019. I remember that cover. I remember
Oh
seeing it. I was
yeah,
blown away by it. But
was that
yeah,
like
man.
with weed? It was like a weed cover, right?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
kind of in the style of, was it called American Gothic, maybe?
Yeah,
With
yeah. I
the
forgot
farmers?
about that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
great work. Great work. And it was for a
thank you.
publication here in Vegas, Vegas Weekly.
Yeah, I
Uh,
did another cover for them that was a fun one to do with a Jimmy Kimmel cover. That was gosh, it was a couple years ago too. It was with Jimmy Kimmel and Guy Fieri and shoot, what's his name? So this basketball player. But that's a fun. It was a fun cover to do.
Wonderful.
Um,
You blew
yeah,
it out of the water.
yeah. But yeah, so I didn't realize you were in Vegas. So, um, man, I It's too hot there, man.
It's brutal. It's
My
brutal.
brother got married there, and that was like, no, that's not the last time I was there. I've been there a few times. I've been there a few times for, it's funny actually. When I was working on the Pope cover, I was in Vegas. I was there with Pixar artists. We were doing like this art convention thing where we were doing like demos and workshops and stuff like that. And then at night we would party like crazy. Pixar guys like to party. It's funny. They're making the cute little kid movies, but they get down. I can't keep up with them. But we would party and have a great time, and then I'd go to my hotel room and work on the sketch of the Pope, because I got the job just before I went to the Vegas trip, and so I had to sketch on it. Got my sketch approved while I was in Vegas, so I'm drawing the Holy Papa while I'm hung over in Vegas. And I remember I got back from Vegas, the sketch was approved, and I think I had a day and a half to finish the painting, something like that. So it was a crazy whirlwind. But yeah, Vegas is too hot though, man.
It is way too hot, and that's man, that is funny. The irony there that you're doing all these nefarious, probably not that nefarious things in Vegas, and you're working on the Pope's image.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
No, it wasn't too bad. We basically we did art stuff during the morning, and then at night we just go out to like all these different clubs and dance and drink way too much. And then I had to help certain people get back to their rooms because they couldn't find their room for some reason. I don't know.
Damn, Pixar likes to party.
Oh yeah, it was hilarious. It was funny because I was texting she was my girlfriend at the time. Now she's my wife, and she's like, "How's it going?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm not, yeah, trying to help certain people get to their rooms." And the next day, they'd be like, "You were right. That wasn't my hotel." I was like, "I told you."
I told you.
Yeah, because you know how all the hotels are connected.
Sure.
And I remember like walking one of my friends back, and I'm like, "Dude, this is not our hotel." He's like, "No, I'm telling you." I go, "No, listen, we are in the same hotel. They booked us in the same hotel, and I'm telling you, this is not." He's like, "Just leave me alone, dude." And I remember he got off the elevator on whatever ninth floor, whatever, and I'm watching him walk away. I'm like, "It's not your room, dude. It's not." I'm like, "Whatever." So I left. Next morning, I see him. He's like, "You're right. That was not my hotel. It took me like hours." So. But no, it was just a fun time, and then I would literally go back to my hotel room and draw the Pope.
Yeah.
And my wife's an artist as well, so I would send her like some sketches and like, just, what do you think? This is what I'm doing, and she's like, "Oh, it's looking good." And then got it approved, went back home to Chicago, and yeah, had a day or two to finish it. So it was a interesting experience, and the funny thing about it was, before I went to the way that I got that Pope cover was, first I painted Edward Snowden. For Time Magazine, they wanted me to paint Edward Snowden for the cover, and I thought that I was doing two covers. So they loved the Edward Snowden cover. They said, "Hey, we really love how this cover turned out. Would you like to do another cover?" And then they gave me the Pope. So I go to Vegas thinking that I'm doing two time covers like in a row. Like one's going to come out and then whatever, the other one's going to come out. I didn't realize that Edward Snowden was also up for Person of the Year. And if I remember correctly, I don't think I knew I was doing Person of the Year at all. I don't think they mentioned it to me. So when I got the Pope Person of the Year, it was a huge surprise. It was crazy. And then the Edward Snowden was actually inside the magazine. So it was like a full page. So yeah, that was a very surreal thing. So when I was in Vegas, all my buddies were celebrating with me because they're like, "Seiler's doing two time covers."
Damn.
So we really celebrated a lot.
I'll bet, man.
So yeah, it was nothing too weird. Just having fun with your buddies, having some drinks, smoking some cigars. It was a really fun time, actually.
Wonderful. How long ago was this? What year was this?
That was 2013. Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Very
And the second cover for the person of the year was 2020, I think. Yeah, 2020. Yeah.
perfect. Man, I have so many more questions, but you've been so generous with your time. I appreciate you being here, but I would love to revisit this and maybe do a part two because I would love to learn about your family, how you and your wife met. Is it difficult drawing certain people, or what's your process like? So we could go on, like Joe Rogan for hours, but I'm not going to do that to you today. So I just want to say thank you so much for taking the
Yeah.
time to be here. And again, it's streaming right now. It's will be here on the platform, but then hopefully within a couple weeks, I'll have it up as a proper podcast. I'm just a little bit behind now because I've been finishing up my Vato Sutra. For those of you out there that are into that kind of dirty stuff, what I would ask my followers and people that are listening is please go to paulvato.com. And from there, you can find all of my social media. Follow me there. I just had a video blow up on Instagram with 11.7 million views, which is crazy. Maybe go give that some love. And then follow the podcast. Hit the like button, hit the share. If you can leave us a review, that would be amazing on Apple Podcasts and also on Spotify. I also found a great podcasting community called Good Pods. If you love podcasts and learning about people and talking to people, go to Good Pods, and it's like Facebook, but for podcasts, where if you listen to something, if you want, people will see what you're listening to, and then you build this great community. But yeah, paulvato.com, everything will be there. Or our website for Paul Vato Presents is paulvatopresents.com. Jason, do you have any final words, any final thoughts, anything you'd like to leave our audience with? That would be
Sorry,
that
someone.
would be amazing.
I was getting a call. Sorry.
No worries.
um,
Let me take it again. Or did you hear that? Jason, do you have any final thoughts, any final words for our audience? Anything that you'd like to leave us with?
uh, hmm.
You can also just give us your website. Sorry.
Joe Biden's gas prices are so high. I don't know. Even Joe has to ride a bike. Do you see this? It's terrific. It's fantastic. Okay.
That's a
Um,
great impression.
even Joe. I was just thinking like even Joe has to ride a bike. Do you see? Even Joe's bike doesn't support Joe Biden. Um, no, but I don't know. I don't know if I have any words of wisdom. I'm I'm not quite awake yet. I know it's like noon, but I need a nap. Ever since I got in my 40s, it's like I wake up in the morning and I'm like I can't wait for my nap. Like when's nap time? Um, no, but I appreciate you having me on. This has been fun, and I appreciate anybody the support for art and comedy. Please check out my Patreon. My Patreon is just patreon.com/Jason Seiler, and I do like videos of myself drawing and painting weekly. And I also have some of my stand up on there as well. Um, just I don't really put up my clips like long clips on YouTube because I'm trying to save my material. But on my Patreon, I do share some stuff because fans have been wanting. They're like, "What's this comedy stuff you're doing now?" So they want to see. So I've been sharing it with my art fans. Um, and then also, what else? Oh, yeah, follow my Instagram, Seiler Paints, not pants. um, and yeah, my website is just jasonseiler.com. And I'll be drawing, I'll be painting, I'll be making jokes. That's what I do. So appreciate the support. And I do have a podcast called Face the Truth. You can find it on YouTube. I've got like 160 to 170 podcasts. I've got podcasts with Kevin Nealon, Jessica Curson, as far as the comedians go, Steve Byrne, and a bunch more, but also a ton of amazing illustrators, sculptors, photographers, musicians. One of my favorites is I had the drummer for the Black Keys, which is one of my favorite bands, and had a really genuine conversation about the creation of their music and their history and all that stuff. So yeah, it's a fun podcast. It's kind of like how we were talking. It's very much just regular chill conversation, but it's all about the arts. So every podcast has some kind of an artist. So check that out, and I appreciate the support. Thank you so much.
You got it, my friend. And I can't wait to maybe collaborate on something or work with you, but definitely
Yeah,
support your comedy and your art. So thank you so much for taking time from your very busy day and for being here. And please thank your family, thank your wife and children for sharing you with us and sharing you with the
yeah, no
world.
problem.
So I really appreciate that. And maybe we'll get to do a comedy gig with Mr. Steve Byrne. And, I'll do the 5 minutes and you can do the hosting and we'll do a show. I'll bring you out to Vegas.
Oh, dude, that would be awesome, man. I definitely want to
Well,
do comedy in Vegas.
yes, yes, yes. Come to Vegas. If anyone's in here, if you guys want to give a round of applause for Jason, that would be wonderful. Thank you guys so much. Yay, bravo.